and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I'm your host, and I'm so happy to be here. If you are listening live, it is the 8th of October at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're listening to an archive or a replay, I want to welcome you to the show. I want to let you know that we are over in the chat room. You can find us by heading over to 12radio.com. That's number 2radio.com. Click on the chat button and you'll be redirected into the Facebook chat. If you've not joined before, you will want to ask for entry. And when you do that, our talented and valiant producer Scott will let you in the door. So easy enough to find us. And I would love to see you there. So I have a lot of fun stuff going on today. Also, you want to be there. I do live stream this. Let me get my words straight. I'm putting the cart before the horse, before the donkey, before, I don't know. But if you are in the chat room, if you scroll down just a little beyond my banner, you'll see the live stream. I am live streaming this event, and I have a lot of things to show you today. So I don't know, just saying, you might want to be in the live stream. If you're not, it's fine. If you want to watch the live stream later on, you'll find it uploaded over at YouTube under Domestic Mystic. That's my domestic mystic. That's how to find me over on YouTube. It is Domestic Mystic. So I would love to see you there. Ooh, I have not silenced this phone. Good thing to figure it out now before my kids start blowing it up, because they will. Alrighty, blah, blah, blah. I am glad to be here. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I did. I had a really good weekend. We went camping and had a ton of fun. Went camping and my kids came home from college to go camping, which was really fun. And God, it was so good to see them. We had a really good time. The place that we camped is right on the Snake River, and it's just a really beautiful place, a really comforting place, and one of my favorite places on earth. It was cold. We had a lot of rain. We had mist. We had fog. We had wind. We had a little bit of sun as well, and it was gorgeous. It was just perfect. That kind of camping is perfect for us, because we camp in campers, not tents. So I guess I have to say that because in a tent, this would have been horrible. But we spent most of our time around a roaring campfire. Everybody did their part, I think, to keep the fire stoked all weekend long. Plenty of hot coffee and tea going and cooking hot things around the fire. Really, does it get better? It was so great. So I am certainly renewed and refreshed from all of that. It was awesome. I got a package in the mail yesterday that I want to share with you guys. I have a few things to share, actually, but also this show is the show before the full moon. It's not actually until Sunday, so I mean, we're a few days away, but I wanted to go ahead and do the fairy tale. Last month, we started a new tradition on this show, and that's that we would do the fairy tale tarot, the show before the full moon, and I would read you the fairy tale, and we'd read it together and think about what may be up and in store for us with this full moon. So we're going to do that today, which I think is going to be a ton of fun. Alrighty. So all of that, right? All right. But first I want to do something fun. I usually do this as a Facebook Live on my fan page at Katie Weaver here on Facebook, but you guys are here and I'm here and I got this and I want to just do it. So I want to share with you what I got in the mail. So if you're in the live stream, you will see this beautiful gold envelope. This is from Jade Bloom. I've talked to you guys a lot about Jade Bloom. They are my favorite oil company. I'm going to put a link in the chat room. Full disclosure, I am an affiliate, so if you click on this link and you purchase anything from Jade Bloom, that would give me a little kickback, and there's no pressure to do that in any way. I just feel like it's ethical for me to say that. Mostly I share Jade Bloom with you because I love their oils and I have a ton of fun with them. So this is their Collectors Club. If you're in their Collectors Club, it's kind of like Ipsy for oils. They send you stuff every month, and a lot of times it's oils that they haven't released to the public yet, which is pretty fun to be on the in. It costs, I think, $19 a month, and oh my, hell is it worth it. So it came, I did open it up because I didn't want to struggle with it on the air, but this is, I'm opening it with you guys here right now. So first, a little postcard about what they sent you. It says seasonal spice. Okay, this is going to be awesome. All right, so there's 2 oils. They're wrapped up in here super good. So let me get them out. You have to be stronger than this, and I don't know if I am, but I'm going to try. All right, the first oil is nutmeg. Okay, so nutmeg oil, obviously it's a warming oil. Nutmeg oil is one that in the fall, of course, we look towards for cooking and for putting in your tea and all of that wonderful stuff. But what you may or may not know is that nutmeg is a super psychic oil. This is actually a third eye oil. Now, if you're going to put it on your third eye, be insanely careful. 1 drop, center of the forehead. That's it. Because this could burn the crap out of your eyes. You can also put a little charcoal disc, burn a little charcoal incense disc, and sprinkle a little bit of nutmeg on a disc. And when I say a little bit, I mean like a little pinch. Why? Because some people use nutmeg to get high. I have no idea how that works. I don't recommend that. In fact, I recommend don't do that. But in a sense, it makes sense to me because nutmeg is a psychic oil. It's a psychic spice, right? So I don't know what it's doing for people when you smoke it. I wouldn't smoke it. But anyway, my lungs would be so pissed if I did that. But hey, you know what? To each their own. But anyway, nutmeg. So I'm super excited that nutmeg is in here because, well, I love it so. I wish we had smell-o-vision so you guys could smell all of these awesome oils. But you know what nutmeg smells like, I'm assuming. When I was a little girl, my mom had this, she called it tea. In hindsight, it wasn't tea at all. But she made what she called sparky tea for us when we couldn't sleep. And sparky tea was hot water with a little bit of milk and a pat of butter and a spoonful of sugar and a sprinkle of nutmeg. And she had always told me that her grandmother made that for her when she was at her house and she couldn't sleep. So when we were little, she would make us sparky tea if we couldn't sleep. I don't know. She never knew why it was called sparky tea. She didn't know. But, oh, okay. Actually, I'm hearing that okay, got it. She called it sparky tea because the person who made it for her grandma, last name was Sparky. So they always just called it sparky tea. Okay. Duh. There you go. If you don't know, ask the question, right? Crazy. If the medium doesn't know, she should just ask the question. That makes me laugh. I was just musing, not necessarily asking, but hey, she answered me anyway. Okay, so my great-grandmother then, this tea was made for her by someone whose last name was Sparky, so she called it sparky tea. Got it. Anyway, but nutmeg. So nutmeg has always been a taste for me that has, and a scent for me that has indicated some kind of comfort, right? Like comfort food. So anyway, so it did have nutmeg oil in it. I'm stoked because I adore nutmeg oil. You can imagine I already have some, but it's actually not Jade Bloom brand, so now I have theirs. Okay, there's one other oil in here. If you guys love essential oils, getting this in the mail every month is like Christmas morning because you don't have a clue what's in there. All right, this is pumpkin spice. Exclusive Collectors Club blend. So you can't buy this from them yet. It only comes in Collectors Club, but it's pumpkin spice. So let's see what they have put in it. So it has cinnamon leaf, not bark. There't a distinction. Vanilla, sweet orange, and cassia. All right. So they say put 3 to 5 drops to your diffuser, or put a few drops on a sock and place it in your dresser drawer to freshen up your clothes. Yum. I could do that, but I want nutmeg in this. I'm going to have to blend them. All right, we'll smell it. Let's see. Ah, very cinnamony. Yeah, because cassia is a form of cinnamon, and then of course cinnamon bark. There's actually several different forms of cinnamon. So cassia is one that is more mellow, not quite as hot, but anyway, so pumpkin spice is the blend that they put in here. And there's one more thing, so let's check it out. This felt to me like a package. Oh, sweet. It's their chai. These guys have a whole bunch of different tea blends, and their chai is coveted at my house. So I will have to hide this from Scott because he loves their chai the very most. Yeah, I think he's coming in here to take it from me right now, actually. But they have fantastic chai. You can see all of the whole product in it. Anyway, so that's exciting. That's perfect for fall, isn't it? Yep, I'm turning it over. I figured that was going to happen. Okay, it's fine. He'll make me a cup, right? Sure, that's what's happening. Yeah. Anyway, that is my Collectors Club kit from them this month. And if you want to check out their oils, I put a link in the chat room, but you can just head over to jadebloom.com as well. But anyway, so much fun. Christmas morning for oil nerds like me. All right, so last Wednesday, I was a guest on Down the Rabbit Hole with Raven. We had a lot of fun talking about Organite. Organite's something that I haven't talked about so much on this show, and I don't know why. I should, but I've been making Organite for about a year. Mostly just pieces for myself and pieces for friends, not necessarily like, you know, to sell, but I am going to try and bring a piece of that to my website at some point. But I had talked, and right before that show, I had actually released a little video, a little tutorial of how to make Organite, and that's over at Domestic Mystic on YouTube. So the pieces that we made are finally set and out of the pressure pot, and I wanted to share them. They're not sanded, they're not perfected, you know, this is raw out of the molds, so, but they turned out so cool that I just had to share. So I made this sphere. I'm going to show it to you guys that are in the live stream, but I'll tell you about it. So in the bottom of it is garnet. And my idea for this sphere with it, because what Organite does is it creates an enhanced energetic state for a lot of different purposes. But my purpose for this sphere was to create a really good grounding energy, a really good energy, right, between the root chakra and the crown chakra. So what Organite is it is crystals and metal suspended in resin. And so that's what this is. So to represent the root chakra, I had put in garnet. And the garnet in this one actually was gathered by Scott and me at a garnet mine in Montana several years ago. So that's the garnet in the bottom. And then in the center of it is copper. Copper is ridiculously good conductor of energy, so it's in the middle of the two to push that energy down for grounding and to push it up to balance the crown chakra. And then the crystals in the top are moonstone. And I don't know in the video if you can, yeah, you can kind of catch the flash. It's rainbow moonstone and it has some really pretty flash in it. So anyway, I'm super excited about this sphere. I cannot wait to get the sandpaper out and the finishing stuff out and polish it and make it gorgeous, but I wanted to share it because it just turned out so cool. So, and we'll talk about Organite more and more, but I had to share. This is fun stuff, right? What's life for if it's not fun, yo, right? Hello, Bernadette. Okay, so a couple of other things that I had made in that video I wanted to share. This is a little pyramid Organite. It is all amethyst. So, and it's, the beads I use are big, or the pieces, they're big round beads. I just thought it would be kind of interesting that way and chunky, and it's really cute. And it also has copper chip in the middle of it. So this one is, this kind of like with the amethyst in it, you could certainly use it for enhancing intuition, but you could also use an Organite like this just to offset EMFs around your electrical devices. You could use it to help heal in your body because amethyst is so gentle and healing in your body. Those were my ideas for it. So that one, and again, these guys aren't, you know, they're not sanded yet. They're not cool. I'm totally jumping the gun, but I wanted to share, and I know you wanted to see them. I know, Scott's dying. He would never have showed you these until they were finished, but it's okay. All right, and then the last one, I don't know if you can see it very well. It's kind of fuzzy, but it is aquamarine and it's got silver within it. So my idea for this one was for inflammation, because when we're using ethereal crystals and ethereal metals, these two show up all the time in the sense of cooling. The aquamarine, that light blue, cool energy. Silver shows up all the time in beating inflammation. So I had made this one with the intent of working on inflammation in the body. So this is one that somebody would probably want to keep with them if you are struggling, you know, with that. So anyway, just for fun, wanted to share these. When they're polished and done and cute, I'll show them to you again. But, you know, that could be a few days. So I decided to go for it. Alrighty, let's take a little peek into Luminous. I'm going to share a link in the chat room, but you can find it by heading over to katie-weaver.com and clicking on the Katie's Magazine button. Luminous, as you all know, is a compilation of work from myself and quite a few of my colleagues over at 12 Listen. So it's fun. It's a weekly magazine, and it comes in. I start receiving articles from them usually by about Friday. Kai and Elisa are super quick. I always get theirs first. They're awesome. And some people are very late, and they're awesome too. The latest person to ever submit to Luminous is me. I'm always the last article to get done, you know, because I only have to answer to myself. But anyway, it's probably fine. But I wanted to share. I love the cover this week. I'm loving that kind of Halloween-y full moon theme. I called the magazine this week the You Deserve Good Things Too edition. I had put that out as a meme a few months ago, and put it on Pinterest. And that meme has been shared like a gazillion times and been viewed tens of thousands of times. And it just really interested me that, so how often do we believe that good things happen to other people that we don't necessarily believe that they should happen for us, or that they can happen for us? This week feels like one of moving through some stress, some pressure, and finding yourself in a place where you feel great, right? And in a place where you believe that you deserve good things too. So that's why I called it that. All right. I wrote an article about self-care. I've been thinking about it a lot. If you guys are friends with me on Facebook, I had shared yesterday, I have talked to so many people here in the last week-ish that are in an enormous amount of pain, that are really flared up. People who have autoimmune disorders or have maybe a bad back or asthma or, you know, some persistent issue. Even people who have been doing super good are reporting to me that they are super, super flared up right now, as am I. And so with RA, and so I had posted on Facebook an informal poll because I just wondered, am I making this up? Am I really seeing this? Is it the case? And an overwhelming number of people responded that yes, they're really struggling right now in an enormous amount of pain, or their asthma's off the charts, or, you know, something along those lines. So of course, whenever I see a trend like that, I go hunting. What the hell, right? What's the problem? Well, a few things I found. Obviously, the change of seasons has people triggered, but I'm talking to a lot of people who don't really have a change of seasons or haven't had it yet. It's still 90 where they live, you know? So maybe not. Maybe the turn of the wheel, more likely. But on top of that, I went and looked at the Schumann resonance, because the Schumann resonance sometimes gets to be spiking all over the map, and that can make people feel like hell. But that's not the case. Schumann is stable. Okay. So I went and looked at solar flares, because sometimes when we have solar flares going on like crazy, people really respond to that in a physical way. The geothermal storms that we have from that, sometimes people really respond in a physical way. And lo and behold, the last couple of weeks, we have had quite a few like moderate level storms. So not enough to screw up electronics, but enough to screw up our more sensitive electronics, our bodies. I'm sure it's a cocktail of things for everyone, right? We all have our own issues. We all have our own, physiology, of course, but somehow we've got like a epidemic flare on our hands. One of my friends mentioned that she's in extreme self-care mode. And I have said that quite a few times too. And I thought about it and I thought, what the hell is extreme self-care mode anyway? We need to quantify it. We need to put something on this that makes sense so that you can do that for yourself, right? So I wrote a little article about what does self-care mean to you. We hear radical self-care, we hear extreme self-care. Sometimes those terms are enough to scare me off. You know, if I'm not physically doing great, maybe that's too damn much to take on. But then again, maybe I need it. So what do you do? So I broke it down into 3 key areas. Physical self-care, obviously. How is your body really doing? Right? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with your doctor? Are you going to a doctor? At least a naturopath? Somebody to help you identify and evaluate what's going on with you? You have to get clear with yourself, and then you have to be honest with healthcare practitioners so that you can get adequate help. One thing I've noticed is that with chronic pain, it sneaks up on people over time. Not always, but frequently. And sometimes I think you're in so much more pain than you really dare to admit because you're afraid to admit that, right? Because that means something's wrong, maybe. Or maybe that means that you're not as strong as you thought you were. It doesn't really mean any of those things, but it does mean that you're probably carrying around a 50-pound bag of pain everywhere you go that maybe you don't have to carry. What would it feel like to put it down if you got some help with it, right? And that goes for all areas of self-care. But with physical self-care, I see this with people a lot, that they've been struggling through something for a long time and haven't taken all of the steps needed to rectify it. Maybe because the first doctor didn't have an answer. Maybe because they didn't have insurance. That's common. Maybe because they didn't think it was that bad. Maybe because other people in their world didn't believe them or think it was that bad, or whatever, right? Whatever. But reevaluate. How are you doing for reals? Are you waking up feeling like shit every day? Are you constantly in pain? Or do you have symptoms that you don't really have an answer for? If you don't, guys, more power to you. Please don't let me make you sick. But if things are out of whack, admit it. Be brave enough to admit it and address it. Okay? That is extreme self-care for your body. Evaluate things like water intake, nutrition, movement, rest. What does your specific body need to feel great? It's sure not a one-size-fits-all. We know that. So take a peek, okay? And make a plan to take excellent care of you. There's no shame in falling down from that, right? I don't want to be here telling you that you have to do certain things. I think that creates an epidemic of shame, and I don't want that at all. I just want you to think about it for you. And if you think you're on target and you're doing great, hallelujah, awesome. If you think there's some things that you could do that would make you feel better, do them. Or don't. I love you anyway. It doesn't matter. But tools, right? Tools. All right. The second aspect, obviously, is emotional self-care. How are you doing? Really? Are you fighting back tears every day and slapping on a smile? Or are you feeling clean and clear? Or is it something different? Do you have anxiety creeping up in places that maybe there shouldn't be? Do you feel like you're down more than you have been? If you're not, and you're great, more power to you, right? But if you are, why are you suffering in silence? You don't have to. Always make sure your doctor knows how you are emotionally. Always. Because your health stuff can have a direct effect on your emotional health, on your mental health, right? It needs to be said. If you need to find somebody to talk to, do it. If the first person you find isn't your jam, find somebody else. You can feel better. Maybe not tomorrow, but you can feel better than you're feeling. If you're feeling like you are on the edge all the time, that you are just barely surviving through the day, let's help you. Let's figure it out. You figure it out. I'll help if I can, but you figure it out. You do the things you need to do to feel a little better. Again, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but you deserve to feel better than you're feeling if that's the place that you're in right now. And there is absolutely help out there. Don't suffer in silence. And then the third aspect, spiritual self-care. Nobody ever asks you, how's your spirit? You know, people might ask you how you're feeling, but they usually mean body, maybe emotionally, right? We don't really think about it that much. We don't do a lot of spiritual self-care. I mean, in the New Age world, that's kind of what it's all about. But even us, we get busy, we get lazy, we get whatever we get, you know, we get sidetracked. What are you doing for your spirit? And is it great? Spiritual self-care is really interesting because what nourishes somebody will not do a thing for somebody else. It's very individualized. What feeds your spirit? Is it communing with nature? Is it going to church? Is it sitting with music? Whatever kind. Is it writing? Is it deep conversations with like-minded friends? Is it something completely different? You do that. You answer that question for you and then adjust accordingly, right? Feed that spirit. Make that a part of your daily routine, at least your weekly routine, that you're doing something that feeds and edifies your spirit. You owe yourself that. When you can get into a decent balance in self-care, and it doesn't mean that you're necessarily, you know, instantly healthy, right? It never means that. But it does mean that you're in a place where you feel like you're doing what you can and you are thriving instead of just surviving. That's the key. So to me, that's what self-care means. But I would love to hear your thoughts on it as well. Alrighty. There's a lot more good in Luminous this week. I'm not going to get to all of it. Kai's article was about taking a breather, talking about breath, and it was awesome. Make sure that you read that and make sure that you breathe a little more conscientiously sometimes. The tip this week is my pain relief bath soak. I've shared this with you before, but it seemed very fitting this week. In a glass jar, combine 2 cups of sea salt, 10 drops of frankincense oil, 5 drops of peppermint, 5 drops of rosemary, and 5 drops of eucalyptus oil. Shake very well to distribute and add a half a cup of salt to a warm bath. So that'll should give you 4 baths. Or, you know, if that's way too much salt for you, put in a little less, you decide. But that's a great soak for pain, if you're feeling it, if you need something. That's one of my favorites. Okay, so much more good. I hope that you guys have a chance to go through Luminous this week. It literally just came out like 30 minutes ago, so you probably haven't looked through it yet. But there's a lot of great stuff in there, so please take a peek. Let me know if there's anything that you need to tell me about Luminous, if it's great, if it isn't. And don't forget that we have our brand new segment, which is our Reader's Corner segment. You'll find it towards the very back. It's on the 24th page. And this is a spot that I've left open for you guys to submit to me anything that you want. Art, poetry, a writing, a quote, something that's meaningful to you that you want to share with others. Send it over. Send it over. And I can put it together into a postcard or into something cool, but send it over. I would love to put it in Luminous. So we're still publishing this really beautiful little poem that Robin sent me a couple of weeks ago. And, well, I'm going to leave it there till we get something else, I guess. But if you guys want to email me, you can. If you want to send it to me on Facebook, you can. Send it to me through the Click for Advisor system, whatever. But send it over. I would love to include you. All right, well, that is Luminous this week. So there you go. Lots of good stuff. All right, let me refresh here and drink coffee. Coffee today, by the way. What are you guys drinking? Anything interesting? I'll tell you what I'm not drinking. Chai tea. That's right. That better be forthcoming. It's fine. It's probably fine. That's what my kids say. That's a saying with kids these days. You probably noticed. It's probably fine. Which basically means it's not that fine. But by God. Okay. Well, I'm thinking we're definitely going to have some time for some readings today, but I'm seeing some requests, so I'm going to give you guys a little of that today, I think. But let's go ahead and get into our fairy tale for the full moon. So this comes from the Fairy Tale Tarot. The Fairy Tale Tarot by Lisa Hunt. So that's what it looks like if you're in the live stream. This was in my mom's stuff. This was one of the decks that I inherited from her, and it's fun. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's not awesome to do a reading with because it's these big long stories, but to do like a one card to address something, it's super fun. And it'll expose you to so many different fairy tales because it's fairy tales from around the world, which I think is fun. Okay. Quelly is drinking watermelon kombucha. What? Fancy. And Renee is drinking green tea. Look at you, all health conscious and stuff. Okay. Probably both of you, actually. Alrighty. So I'm going to read it to you straight from the book because I would never try to paraphrase these fairy tales because I don't know them. So here's what I pulled for the full moon this month. It's the Three of Wands. Card is the Three of Wands. The story is Hawk Lee and the Dwarves. It's a Chinese fairy tale. The key words are energy, communication, and opportunity. So I will read you the story and then we can talk about what it means coming up for this full moon period. Okay. Once upon a time, in a small town in China, there was a man named Hawk Lee. Hawk Lee had a reputation for being industrious. He labored long hours and maintained a clean, organized home. His neighbors admired his work ethic and were humble and polite whenever they saw him. Little did they know that Hawk Lee led a double life as a nocturnal thief. He was part of a band of robbers that broke into the homes of wealthy townspeople. He had accumulated quite a sum of money from his thievery and felt pleased with his own cleverness. But one morning, he woke up with a swollen right cheek. It had grown overnight and continued to swell at an alarming rate. His once polite neighbors now replaced humble nods with disdainful glares. His growth was seen as a bad omen, making his neighbors recoil at the sight of him. Some even jeered when he walked by. One day, a doctor rode through town. The doctor looked at him and said, "You must have angered the spirits somehow," he surmised. Hawk Lee felt exposed, but didn't let on about his misdeeds. "Please tell me what the cure is," he begged the doctor. "I will pay you handsomely for a remedy." The doctor, suspecting that Hawk Lee was guilty of some evil exploit, decided to make things difficult for his patient, thus driving a hard bargain. Hawk Lee felt as though he had no choice and finally agreed to pay a large sum. Then the doctor closed his bag and divulged the secret cure. At the next full moon, go to the forest and find a certain tree. You must wait for the dwarves to emerge from their hiding places. When they discover your presence, you will be asked to dance. Make sure that you give them a great performance, or else you will be punished severely. If you succeed, they will cure you. Hawk Lee waited for the next full moon before venturing into the forest. He found the tree that the doctor had described and climbed up onto the largest branch. He waited until little people tumbled into a clearing near the tree and began to dance. They were engaged in merriment when the branch that served as Hawk Lee's seat cracked. The dwarves all looked up before the leader came forward and demanded to know who he was. He didn't know what to expect from these creatures, so he stepped down clumsily and bowed before them. "Why are you here?" asked the leader. Hockley told them all about his cheek and how he had been advised to come to the forest for help. The leader clapped and all of the dwarves formed a circle. "Now dance," demanded the dwarf leader. "And if you dance well, you will be assisted. But if you dance poorly, prepare for punishment." Hockley was so nervous that his knees shook and his feet slid on the leaves beneath his feet. First he lifted one arm, then a leg, but before he could do anything more, he lost his balance and flipped into a contorted heap. As he lay there defeated, the dwarves barraged him with curses. Soon the size of his left cheek doubled and nearly matched the growth on the right. Hockley fled the scene and retreated to the sanctuary of his home. He woke up swollen, sad, and repentant. He wanted to consult with the first doctor, but the good physician had already moved on to the next village. This left Hockley with very little choice but to see the dwarves again. He waited until the moon shone full and returned to the same tree. This time the dwarves knew there was a human present and ordered him to reveal himself. Hockley came out of the tree and bowed. Then he asked their permission to dance again. The dwarves chuckled, but then agreed to the second show. Hockley took a deep breath and decided to let his spirit soar. He raised his arm and then his leg. When he felt balanced, he jumped into a graceful dance. He kicked and twirled, and soon the leaves were spinning along with him. When he finished, the dwarves clapped and cheered. "You have done well," announced the leader. "And for this, the evil spirits have departed. Feel your face." Hockley was delighted to find that the growths had disappeared. Hockley thanked the dwarves and danced all the way home. He vowed to never steal again. And from that day on, Hockley changed and assisted those who needed a cure. He would make them swear secrecy and lead them to the dwarves in exchange for payment. And before long, he made a good bit of money. Okay. Symbols and meaning. Should we go that far? I guess we should. The spiraling light is the manifestation of energy and new ideas. The flowing leaves represent the unearthing of repressed thoughts and the liberation of the shadow. The tree stumps are ancient and identified with wisdom and rational thoughts. The roots have far-reaching influences exposing collective truths. The bamboo trees are auspicious and provide luck. The notches suggest spiritual growth. Hockley's spiral-adorned clothes connect his mind, body, and soul. The braid represents strength and fortitude. Hockley's green belt embodies nature, renewal, and oneness. You can facilitate creative growth by remaining open to those things that will help you to diversify. Utilize your experience as you introduce fresh, dynamic approaches to your repertoire. There is no need to dismiss past achievements. Rather, develop new ways to use your skills as you expand yourself further. Interesting. Okay, so here's some takeaways from me for the full moon, and I would love to see if you have anything else that you want to share about our fairy tale in the chat room. I would love to know if any of you have heard it before as well. To me, giving yourself opportunities to let your spirit soar. When he finally let himself out of the box, when he stopped being nervous, when he allowed himself to truly, fully express himself, the evil spirits left. When he finally allowed himself to forgive himself. I feel like that was a big part of it. When he danced the first time, he was in such a place of shame. He was in such a place of guilt, and that he was so nervous he couldn't really perform. The next time, he was ready, right? He was ready to let his inhibitions go. He was ready to forgive himself for his past discretions, and he was ready to really dance, to really soar, and it paid off. There's that for me. I think there's a lot to be said for allowing whatever creativity you have flowing through you to flow through you. There's a big part of this for me in this full moon in not feeling like you have to explain yourself or make excuses for yourself for other people, for your decisions, you know, for your very existence, that you have to give yourself permission to be here. You have to give yourself permission to share your gifts. You have to give yourself permission to be okay with who you are. Who cares what other people think? It's easy to say that, but it's not always easy to feel that, right? So I do think that this full moon gives us an opportunity to be here, to be real, to be ourselves, to put our inhibitions aside, and to really shine. So those are my takeaways from the story, and I'm excited to see what we all do with this full moon. Of course, it's not for a few more days, but that's okay. And again, if you guys have anything that you want to chime in with or share about the story, I would love to hear it. I think that everyone's takeaway is very valuable. You know, when we were all kids in school, they read you a story, or they have you read a story, and then they tell you to evaluate it. What do you think this meant? What do you think the author was talking about? Why do you think they wrote this? And then you write down all of your little thoughts and opinions, and then the teacher says, wrong, wrong, wrong. Not all teachers, hopefully not all teachers, right? But too often there was only one right answer. And that's not how life is, right? That's not how life is. In truth, there were a lot of ways to intuit things. There were a lot of ways to explore things. And I understand the need for critical reading and the need for critical writing in school, but at the same time, there's a lot of ways to interpret a written work. And I think that all are valid. So anyway, if you have anything to say, I would love to see it. In the meantime, I would like to jump into the chat room and do a few things. Ali Shaya says, if you are doing readings, I got an inspiration to create a new source of income. Do you see it panning out if time and spirit permit? I think it's possible. There are some roadblocks in your way to getting started. Some of them are your own, just in being a little unsure. I feel like you might need to pick up some kind of a mentor, or, you know, have some good guidance from somebody who's done something similar so that you have a really clear path forward. But I actually feel like there is a potential for this to earn income. I don't see it really starting to make money until February-ish, if you really get busy right now. So there's definitely some caveats, but I do think that there's potential here for you. I feel like there is an income possibility. I love that you have that inspiration coming in. I also love that you have the confidence to act on it and move forward. So yay you. I can't wait to hear all about it. Very good. Okay, Marlene says, I'm hoping you're doing readings today. I am in desperate need of energy work. I've just returned from 2 weeks in Arizona, where my 97-year-old father has been in the hospital for the last 3.5 weeks. He is in extreme pain, and I don't know what the future holds for him. I have been exhausted and having bad dreams and nightmares for the last 2 weeks. In every one, I am being pursued, hunted, and or killed. I would love and appreciate any messages and help for me and my dad. Okay, Marlene, I am on the job. So a couple of things for you. First of all, your dad is part of your root chakra. We ground to our fathers. Most commonly, we ground. There's a part of your root that's connected to your dad. Because of his pain, because of the medication he's on, you were around him a lot, and he's on medication that I feel like there's an energy around heavy pain meds, like narcotics, that I think is kind of contagious to empaths. I experienced this a lot when my folks were on hospice, and just feeling that, like the fentanyl and stuff like that. There's an energy of it that empaths kind of feel, and I feel like that's a part of what your situation is. I feel like the travel was very ungrounding for you. All of the time in the hospital around a myriad of different energies was really ungrounding for you. some family politics that you really tried to ignore and stay completely aside from, but there's still a little jarring around, I feel like was a little ungrounding for you. And your rock, your dad, being in this much pain and being this ill, well, it all has your root really shaken up. So I want to do a grounding for you. I'm laughing because I actually brought my root chakra bowl to the table today and wasn't sure if I was going to actually use it or need it, and I'd kind of scrapped it because I wanted to get onto readings, but I think that there was a reason I brought it. So Marlene, we're going to ground with the root chakra bowl. I would invite all of you to join us in this if you feel like this would behoove you as well. So I'm going to play the bowl twice. The first time, I want you to allow anything in your root that isn't serving you to run out of you and into the earth. That's our first step. Or to just be just absolved into the singing bowl, absorbed into the bowl. So you can do it either way. You might do a little bit of both. And Marlene, while I'm playing the bowl, I'm going to specifically work on you in getting that root gathered back up and cleared. So let's do it together. All right, so focusing on the root chakra now. All right, so Marlene, for you, even in just getting that root back in place and balanced, I'm feeling all of this energy that was really packed up on your shoulders and on your back, like literally just slide down your back and into the earth where it should have been. So we're on our way here. So now I want to invite you all to send red tree roots from your feet deep, deep, deep into the earth, really grounding and connecting you to the energy of the earth in a way that your spirit can continually renew its energy. So I'm going to go ahead and play the bowl, and we'll do that together now. And so Marlene, of course, for you, I'm going ahead and doing that work with you. Just send those roots down. Good, and get your energy body moving here. Good, perfect. Okay, so good. All right, well, I'm glad I had the bowl right here. That worked really well. They're usually stored behind me, so I wouldn't have had it had I not had it. Right, okay. If that made any sense. Marlene, I'm not quite done with you though. I'm going to clear your aura because you have a lot of psychic debris from that hospital energy. With Dad, they're telling me to report to you that you need to authorize the hospital, if it's well and good with you and with your family and your doctor, to take whatever steps necessary to ease his pain, whatever it is. That there's really nothing that has to happen. But we're going to do a little work for him. So interestingly, we're grounding you really well because you were shaken up. We are not grounding him. Somebody who's in an enormous amount of pain will naturally become a little ungrounded because it actually eases their pain. So we would certainly not do that to him, but I am going to just wrap him up in a lot of light. It's kind of a purplish periwinkle light is what emerged. I thought it might be green or pink, but it's not. That's fine. It's whatever it's supposed to be. So we're wrapping him up in light. I am going to fill his room. So we're going to invoke Archangel Ariel. You've already done some of this. I can see it. We're going to invoke her and ask her to fill his room with legions of angels to lift him up, to ease his pain, and to bring him an extraordinary amount of comfort. Good, good, good. Okay, all right. Marlene, I'm sorry your family's going through this. We love you. We're certainly here for you in any way that we can be. Okay. Oh, she says yes. Fentanyl and morphine and family politics. Oh, sorry. All right. Liliana said, if time permits, I would love a reading on my 2 dogs waking up in the middle of the night for almost 2 weeks. One night, I saw someone walk by my living room. Yeah, you've got some activity in your house. It's not just happening at night, but you're noticing your dogs responding to it at night because they are, you know, they're supposed to be in bed asleep. So you're seeing it, responding to it. Okay. So just taking a look at your house, I'm going to ask your dogs to stay in bed. It's actually, it's your grandfather or great-grandfather. It's somebody that's supposed to be there. They're just more active at night. I feel like, again, the dogs are noticing them more. I don't see anything that doesn't belong there. But I do see an older man that is, I'm identifying as your grandfather or great-grandfather that is there, you know, because he's supposed to be. He's watching over you, particularly when you sleep. But the dogs have gotten quite wise to him. They're not afraid of him. They're just noticing him. So I'm going to ask them to please stay in bed at night because it's, you know, getting up isn't good for anybody. So we're going to stay in bed and sleep. We know that he's there. Sometimes it helps to just acknowledge that we know that. So I'm letting them both know, especially your little nervous guy, that we know that he's there and it's okay and they can just stay in bed and sleep. Good. Okay, report back, please. Let's see how they do. I'll be interested to know. Okay, we probably have time for one more thing here. Okay. Sorry, you guys. I'm slow to get, I get lost in the chat room. All right. So Rebecca said, if you have time, I would love a message about my uncle who died in 2017. Let's take a look at that. You've been feeling him, Rebecca. You've been feeling, just thinking about him more, and that is feeling him. You've had him on your trajectory for a while. And he says it's because you have needed more masculine energy in your life. You've needed to have your male ancestors step forward and help bring some balance. He said that's not a bad thing. That's just a thing that he's able to bring to you. So that's why he's been around quite a lot more, actually. And with others. He's not alone. Actually, there's a cousin with him as well, a male cousin, that are spending more time around you. They said that their main goal is to just bring you some balance and bring you some safety. They said particularly, a little like Liliana, that they are around you quite a lot at night. And so he said that it's important to say to you that he is peaceful, and it's important to say to you that he is well, and that he just wants you to know that he's around because he loves you, he cares about you, and he recognizes your need for him to be there. So when he comes up in your thoughts like that, it's because he's near. So tell him hello. And hopefully you know who the cousin is too, so that you can address him as well. But you have a couple little bodyguards right now. I love it. Alrighty, guys. We have done what we do. We've definitely talked down to the end of the show. I want to let you guys know that you can find me over at 1-2-Listen for the rest of the day and evening and week. So much going on, of course. And of course, you can find me here on Facebook. You can definitely find me over at katie-weaver.com. And of course, make sure that you subscribe to the Daily Dish. And you can do that by heading over to katie-weaver.com. There's a little pop-up there that you can subscribe, and you'll start receiving my daily email. I send a little email every single morning with a little energy read for the day. And it's going out to a lot of people now. The Daily Dish is a year old. A year old, the 1st of November. So it's almost here. And I started with an email list of 0. And now we're at 740, I think it was this morning. So it's going out to a lot of people now. It's a lot of fun, and I would love to be sending it to you if I'm not already. So thank you all so much for being here. Have a good and happy full moon. I'm sure we'll talk about it more next week. You've been listening to The Katie Weaver Show here on 1-2 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world.